Well, here we are, part 3 of week 12 of cis204, Unix shell scripting and utilities, and we're dealing with awk and no more cheese. So, where we left off, we were looking at an awk script that would do the following. So, if we look at this more group.awk one more time for grins, you'll see that it sets up an array called num. It reads the field 6, and it increments a number. That's what the array has. So every time a unique field 6 entry occurs, it creates an entry in the array, and that entry in the array is an element. So it looks at field 6. If it's unique, it puts it into the array as an element. And then that plus plus says, hey, by the way, increment the number of times that element is encountered in the fields that you're reading by 1. So in this case, it says, okay, so whatever the element is, that var in num, and the var is whatever unique $6 is there, I want to print the value of var and occurs, and in this case, the num of var, and that is that plus plus, how many times it occurs, basically. And when is that done? Well, it's done after every record is read, because it uses the end. End for var and num, print var occurs num var times. Okay. Well, that worked pretty good. So what if you want to find out how many times a particular string occurs in a file? Not just if it occurs within a particular field on each record, but I want to find out how many times a particular string occurs. Well, you'd approach it like you would with a string in a particular field, but you'd include a for loop to look at each field in a record. Holy moly. Okay, so now we're getting really close to what we were doing, or what we need to do with project 5. In this case, for string equal 1, string is less than or equal to the number of fields, do a string plus plus, and then create this array with the $string, which is the unique element that was read in a record, and increment that. So in this case, a for loop reads each field of a record into the array and increments a count of each unique element. Cool. Now you know how to do the first piece of project 5. So we're going to take a look at part 2 here. So you're going to build an awk script that will print the values and count for field 6 in a specific file. You will notice that one value, 231, is littered across different fields in the file field underbar test. So let's take a look at field underbar test here. There it is. Okay, 231 occurs a lot of times. Now you're going to notice that it's there. You're going to create an awk script that builds an array of each unique element value regardless of the field, along with a count of the occurrences for field underbar tests. So we can use that loop. Every unique field can be placed in the array, and the number of times the field is encountered can be recorded. So the output of the for loop is going to look somewhat like this: 365 once, 127 once, 231 11 times. So let's see what we've got out here that will allow us to do that. Group test, field test, more field.awk. There it is. So let's do this. awk-f field.awk field underbar test. Oh, that's exactly what you wanted. Now, let's take a look at this again. So, it's string equal 1, I'm just calling that variable string. That could be I. String is less than or equal to the number of fields. Okay, so will it look for something in a record that has no fields? No, because it's not set to string equals 0 to begin with. So string is less than or equal to the number of fields, and every time I encounter a string, in this case, I increment the value of string. So I set string equal to 1, and that is going, anytime it's less than or equal to the number of fields on the record, I grab it, and then I increment the value of string, and I evaluate this again. Is it less than or equal to the number of fields? Every time I do that, I create this array with the element being the unique variable $string, and every time that variable is encountered, it will increment the number of times it's been seen in the array. At the end, I want to print the element, a tab, and the count. Count element. Print for element in count, and this $string is the element in count. Print the element, which is whatever the $string was. In this case, Janet, Hell, Bob, 857, 789, 365, 127, and 231, and how many times that element, that unique element, was encountered in every field on every record. Okay, so in class, we are going to end up creating an awk file that will prompt the user for a field to use. Then you will use that user's input to display the unique elements of the array and the number of times each element occurs in the field. You're going to use that group test file. So let me do this. Control L, more group underbar test. Oh, bro. Underbar test. Okay, so that's the file we've been playing with. Okay, now, once you create that, run your new awk file against the DC underbar area underbar Starbucks underbar r2.csv, and remember that the field separator is colon. So there are also processing command arguments that are available. Command line arguments are available to gawk using the built-in array argv and argc. The index of array argv starts at 0. The built-in variable argc contains the number of command line arguments. So argv is a variable, it's an array. Argc is a variable that contains a number of command line arguments. So a cheap look at this would be argv argc tests, and if we look at begin for I equals 0, okay, and I is less than or equal to the number of argc, then increment I++, and then print argv is, and then give it the information from argv, and printf the number of arguments argc equals. So what have we got at here? Do we have something like that? Yep, we do have. Let's look at this argv.argvc.awk. It's set up just like we have in that. So awk dash f argvc.awk. argvo is awk. The number of arguments is 1. Here's the number of arguments. The argument I gave it was argvc.awk, actually this -f. So, hey, that's interesting. It worked. So, here we go. We can do this. Let's try this one. So you saw how it worked. argvo is awk. And the number of arguments argc equals 1, because I just have that file. So what happens here? Argo is awk. Yeah, that's the first argument. Arg1 is data file. Argv, variable data file 4. 3 is field underbar test. The number of arguments is 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, Interesting. And it works. So what about the sub and G sub? Well, these are string functions that match the regular expression for the largest and leftmost substring field in the record, and then replace the match field with the substitution string. So sub replaces the first occurrence. G sub is the global. It replaces all occurrences on the record. And what's the record? The record's a line. So the index function returns the position of a substring in a string. The length function returns the number of characters in a record or in a field. So length of string. So the substring function returns the substring from a given position and, if supplied, a given length. The match function returns the index of a regular expression. The split function splits a string into an array. The sprintf function returns a string in a specified format. It's a specialized printf. So there are also some calculator-like functions that are available in awk. Tangent, the cosine, the exponentiation, integer log, random sign, square root, and sran. Ran generates a random number. 0 is less than the random number is less than, so you need to supply it an upper boundary. SRAN supplies a seed, x, so if you put in 5, that would seed your random number. So user-defined functions can be placed anywhere in a script, and that a pattern action can be placed. It consists of the function declaration, name parameters, values which are local to the function arrays by address or reference, statements, and optionally a return statement and return expression. So, for example, if you look at the file grades, and we'll go look at grades here, more grades, right? Okay. There's a bunch of stuff. Run the awk-f sorter.sc grades and see. So let's awk-f, pardon me, sorter.sc grades, and what do we come up with? Notice how it manipulated the individual lines. So let's look at sorter.sc. So for I equal 1 and I is less than the number of fields, I plus grades, I equal $1. Sort grades, and this is grades and the field number. So for j equal, so this is how this is laid out. It actually will sort each line, each record. So here's now the other thing you can deal with is user-defined functions. So th equals $5 plus, and inside parentheses, $6 times 1.5. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that part of Project 5? 1.5 times the hours times the base pay will give you the overtime pay? This sets the value th equal to the contents of field 5 plus the contents of field 6 multiplied by 1.5. So if I take total hours, oh, that's what th stands for. $5, oh, maybe that's my hours worked, and $6, oh, overtime hours worked times 1.5. I end up with a number that will tell me total hours that I can multiply times my base rate. Okay, well, we're going to end awk at the moment. We're going to end up using awk quite a bit inside of shells. Awk is a good tool. If you learn awk, you should eventually learn Perl and Python, but in the interim, awk is good to use, and it can be very useful for some very small things that you need to do where you don't want to go full Python or full Perl. So that is the end of week 12 of cis204 Unix shell scripting and examples.